Questo è quello che io ho. Dov'è Marina Di Foggia?
Eccola qui. Questo è il prospetto con nominativi dei ragazzi, nome scuola.
Non mi interessa, mi stavo cercando di capire. No, non fate partire la diretta che finora siamo ancora nel caos, mi pare. No, così non ci capisco niente. Marina Di Foggia, scusa, vieni un secondo. A me risultava... Patrizia, sono tutti diversi. Argentina versus Brazil. But one more thing, you remember that you have an evaluation at the end of your speech. The jury will be giving their decision by raising the ballot. And then if you want, and if you really insist, you may ask for specification. But I hope you don't need that, unless there is something really anomalous, accepted, declared, fine, and all done. Correct? You can still...
It's Argentina.
Yeah, but you can have it. Please take it off. Won't be difficult. You can take not only when you're sitting here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now, before we start, one deep breath, and we are ready to start. Argentina versus Brazil. Title of your performance, title of your speech.
Full potential of digital transformation. Digitalization is not new. Many digital technologies have been around for more than a decade and have profoundly changed the way we live. with the COVID-19 pandemic not only serving as a stress to past digital transformation efforts, but also as an accelerator of new efforts to digitize our economies, it has become clear that many established firms will have to step up their digital game in 2021. But let's start from the definition of digital transformation. Is the use of digital technologies and the data they produce to connect organization, people, physical assets and processes, and to generate better business outcomes, including or capitalizing on customer needs, realizing efficiency, and improving the effectiveness of decision making across the entire organization, enabling also new business models. Digital transformation is thus distinct from digitalization, which only refers to adding digital elements to existing processes and strategies. Digital transformation requires the courage, the mindset, and the skill set to review and optimize processes from the customer's perspective. In Argentina, we believe that digital transformation can only lead to sustainable improvement when this transition is carried out by the entire organization, and that starts with leadership. It requires a high involvement of all business departments that goes far beyond the annual budget and project reviews. Without that involvement and commitment, this organization will have to face the risk that the technology implementations and decisions are not carried out by operational requirements and capabilities. In other words, the IT departments and the technology service providers cannot and should not do this alone. On top of that, it's necessary to create new international agreements and targets to reach the full potential of digital transformation in order to ensure financial development also for less developed countries, such as Argentina. I'm sure you would all agree on the need to formulate such agreements for the common advancement in the field of digital transformation. Perhaps you are not aware of the current initiatives in Argentina in the field of digital transformation. In the last decade, Argentina has made huge efforts to enhance digital access and use for all. Internet users, mobile active broadband and fixed broadband subscription increased. The country has progressed the digital transformation of government, ranking among the most advanced countries in Latin America and Caribbean in terms of open government data policies, according to the Organization for Economic and Cooperation and Development. Many challenges remain, however, including the number of computers available to students in order to promote an inclusive digital societies. For this reason, we have recently created the Digital Agenda, or Agenda Digital Argentina, which is in line with United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And it is actually the basis for guiding the digital transformation of our country. The Digital Agenda aims to take advantage of digital technologies to achieve the full digital inclusion of all citizens, improve economic productivity and competitiveness, and put the state at the service of citizens. Among the initiatives to promote this digital transition, we find the Aprender Conectados, or Learn Connected, which is a national program that encourages innovation in the world of education and digital familiarization, offering digital education, programming, and robotics classes in kindergarten, but also in primary and secondary schools. Furthermore, we have the Programa País Digital, or Digital Nation program, which aims at modernizing the sector of public administration, improving the quality of services, promoting transparency, but also digital inclusion and innovation. And this is in coordination with all local governments. Finally, we have the Pontos Digitales, or digital points, which continues to work with the framework of providing connectivity, training, and access to new information. And the government of Argentina, subsequently launched the app Cuidar for citizens to self-assess symptoms. Additionally, the Ministry of Public Innovation, Science and Technology, and in coordination with the Ministry of Health and Facebook, launched a chatbot to provide citizens official information and updates about the COVID situation. we are strongly convinced that international cooperation in the field of digital transformation is of the utmost importance. In light of this, Argentina cooperated with Panama on a project on photogrammetry and digital mapping techniques and processes. In addition, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Productive Innovation held the 11th Joint Steering Committee on International Research and Innovation between the European Union and the Argentina. They agreed to continue developing common frameworks in the world of digital transformation, but also to cooperate, which is the most important word, the most important verb for all the world of digital transformation, in research and also innovation. They are we feel that we are on the right path towards the digital inclusion of all citizens and aware of the need to include all to include all South America in this project, which can only bring positive results for the well-being and development of our countries. In addition, Argentina and EU and the EAU, European Union, also cooperate with Colombia on a project financed by Adelante to group and digitalize biometric data. So we are really fixed on the word of cooperation, which is extremely important in the world of digital transformation. And we are strongly believed of the importance of international cooperation between all countries.
To properly deploy the workforce necessary to produce and deliver services and products. But to do that, new business models are necessary. So based on the research of the Conference Board, there are three the new economy introduces. And also measuring and managing digital transformations requires a multifaceted approach with a multifaceted measure system that include three different steps. The inputs to gauge the digital transformation readiness, then the outputs to measure, to evolve the business models and to take stock of digital initiatives, and then the outputs to evolve the business models. But now, what about going digital in Brazil? We are aware that being a developing country poses us in a difficult position, but it wouldn't be a challenge for us if there wasn't any risk to be taken. So Brazil adopted the OECD system, which has developed an integrated policy framework with a whole of government approach to current policy in the digital age. From the turning of the century till the recession in 2014-17, Brazil combined a fast economic growth and remarkable social progress. However, the unemployment rate jumped to 12% in 2018, while the number of people living in poverty increased to 7.4 million. So as you can see, inequality remains very high. Following the COVID-19 crisis, the economy is projected to contract to 7.4 to 9.1% in 2020, while unemployment is predicted to reach historical heights. Also, Brazil's population is aging very rapidly and resulting in the government launching structural reforms as the recent pension system. The biggest challenge here is that going digital would be the light at the end of the tunnel for many companies and individuals, but it could also increase the gap between high and low-skilled individuals and large and small companies, as well as urban and rural regions. Digital technologies are an enabler for innovation productivity for companies. High-speed broadband networks also provide individuals and companies with access to government services and international markets. Online educational resources offer new tools for teaching and for learning, and provide individuals and workers with new opportunity and skills for upgrading. I shall conclude by saying that policies are key to ensure that the potential benefits of the digital transformation are shared in an equal mode across the economy and society. I thank you, distinguished delegates, for the provided me today.
Okay. All right. Jury? Need some time to decide, or
l'esposizione sicuramente migliore, però non ha toccato per esempio aspetti internazionali.
No, l'ha toccato tutti e due, anche gli aspetti interni, ha parlato prima di quelli generali e poi è sceso giù.
Ho tagliato qua perché tutta questa parte andavo sopra i 7 minuti, quindi ho fatto un taglio.
Qualcosa in più a lui, uno di noi dà qualcosa in più a lui.
Beh, però chi prevale? Lei?
Ma più che altro io avevo portato delle slide,
No,
infatti quindi ho ricambiato al volo. Però
Vabbè, tu gli devi...
penso che sia va bene.
A lei 5, tutti, attenzione, prima chi parla, l'Argentina è 5.
Ma domani potrà portare una presentazione o no?
no, adesso lo rispiego.
No, grazie, infatti, scusi.
E per il
Ah,
Brasile
5?
5.
Questo infatti non lo
Ok, ready.
Allora, as for Argentina, abbiamo detto?
MX 14. And Brazil? 13. No. 15. Ambassador, please don't make us get in trouble with this. Okay. So,
you're welcome.
We are not accustomed, we are not
That's-
ballando con le stelle.
Thank
quindi,
you.
quindi,
right, so
We have the first winner, which is Sofia Cotta from Talete of Rome.
okay, congratulations.
Congratulations to both students.
Aspetta, noi così ci sovrapponiamo troppo.
Allora, Argentina,
Ci sovrapponiamo troppo così, non va bene. Quello lo leviamo.
Brasile
Tu
abbiamo
tieni
detto
count down, chiamo io se vuoi, se no diventa complicato.
Brasile. Ricordiamoci dopo.
Okay. Before we start with the second challenge, let me specify that some of the students were asking me to have the possibility to project slides, but that is not possible. I want to focus on some important elements. This challenge this year is reduced in activity because we haven't got the part of negotiation, but we only have the most important part in one way, that it is public speaking and debating. Now, the debating even is not really that strong because people are simply publicly speaking, not debating one another. Otherwise, we would have different moment of question and answering the question and so on. So please understand that we're mainly focused on your ability to develop a topic on a public speech moment. Is that clear to all of you? Okay, so what you need to focus mainly is the ability to develop your topic and to deliver it to the public in the best possible way. Okay? Any comments? Anything that you want to know before we go on? Everything clear in the way they delivered the speech and in the way the jury gave the evaluations? Any question? Any comment? So, perfect. We get on to the second challenge. Australia versus Canada. You have the correct names, Farrugia, so Australia.
For Australia, we have Massimo Stocchi in Audi of Rome, and for Canada, Camille Andreozzi, Leopardi,
Anyway.
Bachelard.
Okay. Ready, welcome. Ready with no mask, which is not a movement. Okay, ready to go?
No.
Deep breath. There's no other way. You have to start.
I know.
So,
Let's go.
just breathe and start.
Okay. Dear colleagues, I would like to introduce you to Australia's consideration about digital and sustainable economy. Our businesses, governments and workforce have to keep up with changes in technologies because this will define Australia's future prosperity. But this will require sustained effort from many stakeholders. Australia is working on being more sustainable by adopting a renewable energy target of at least 50% by 2030, at least 100% by 2050, starting from imposing a moratorium on all new coal mines in Australia. National policy frameworks and international agreements need to find ways to promote financial inclusion, investments, and protect people and the environment, keeping competition fair and the tax base sustainable. The potential benefits to our economy with digitization have been estimated to be as much as $31.5 billion over the next decade, with the potential to create up to 250,000 new jobs by 2025. With other countries investing heavily in digital technology, our action over the next 10 years will determine whether we lead or fall behind our global competitors. Our digital economy strategies sets how Australia will secure its future as a modern and leading digital economy society. Here is our strategy. First of all, is building the foundation to grow the digital economy, where the government has to create the condition for the digital economy to prosper. This includes investing in digital infrastructures, a skilled workforce, and safety to encourage the adoption of trusted technologies. Secondly, is building capability in emerging technologies. Our government recognizes the important role of technology. Finally, is setting digital growth to lift our priorities. Well, we have identified 4 strategic priorities where we can partner with the private sector to drive digital growth in jobs. These priorities include lifting the digital capability of small to medium enterprises, supporting modern industry sectors, building a dynamic technology sector, and delivering simple and secure digital services. These are indeed challenging times for development, but also times of great opportunity to do better and to do so together. I therefore look forward to work closely with you and your governments in addressing both challenges and opportunities in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Okay.
Sorry, how
Right.
many minutes?
Number of minutes used.
It was 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, there is one thing you should consider. Let me say now that you should be using all your time. Not in real life. In real life, you can do whatever you like. If you want to say something in a brief way, do it. But in simulations, you should use exactly the number of minutes you have been given. Just to let you understand, it's like when you are working on the so-called terza prova. If you are given 10 lines, you have to use 10 lines, not 8, not 12. So try and keep your time, your speaking time, within the 7 minutes you've been given. Clear?
To help you, I will inform you when you have 30
That's
seconds left.
why this was used, but nobody was going over the time. You are not using all your time, all the time you've been allotted, okay? Just a suggestion. I know that there is also one way now that the teacher's sense of helping comes out. The problem is that you are so stressed, so under pressure, that you try and keep it quick, but that's not necessary. That is absolutely not necessary. You should be instead relax, deep breath, and deliver your speech within 7 minutes. Now, are you ready?
Yes, thank you.
So, are we ready with countdown? Canada, that is this beautiful girl from Macerata, Liceo Leopardi?
Yes,
Correct. I don't know your name.
Camilla.
Camilla. Ready to go.
Okay. What is to be said about new technologies? What today's world is experiencing has already happened 3 times. When the steam engine was first linked to machines, we had to revamp the way we thought, learned, and produced. Huge impacts also came with the electricity generator or the printing press. And today, it's the turn of silicon chips implanted in computers or smartphones. And our generation has to deal with the heavy effects of such light objects. As computing power improves dramatically and more people around the world participate in the digital economy, we should think carefully about policies that devise will allow us to fully exploit the digital revolution's benefits while minimizing job dislocation. It's easy to feel disoriented. The new technology is so flexible and pervasive. An online user can go from, in just a few clicks, searching for entertainment, buying, investing, and even working online. The pandemic has shown the effects of technology in the workplace. Consequently, many benefits come not simply from adopting the technology, but from adapting to the technology. While entering the digital era, Canada has made sure to set some boundaries. Since the end of the 20th century, our country has made sustainable development a priority. In 2008, the Federal Sustainable Development Act was published. It meets the needs of the present, but doesn't compromise the abilities of future generations to meet their own. Not only that, but we as a country have acknowledged that sustainability cannot be achieved alone. But provinces, territories, indigenous people, communities, businesses, scientists, and non-governmental organizations all play a role in Canada to meet this objective. Not by chance, the term multiculturalism was coined in Canada itself. But what has Canada now realized? The digital revolution involves more than just a set of industries. It has the potential to drastically transform virtually every sector of the economy. It is no longer possible to underestimate the importance of the digital. Today, there are about 40,000 information and communications technology businesses in Canada. But we're working on jobs in many other fields. For example, embracing innovation, Canadians will no longer see farming as the old ploughing and sowing crops. In fact, to help farmers manage chemical inputs, tractors are now connected to satellite global positioning systems that help survey fields and relay data to the onboard computer. In that way, drones dispense the right amount of fertilizer for every plant. There is still a farmer in the cab. We're not excluding men from the equation. But with agri-tech and food tech, farming and food production is technology-driven. But this is just an example of what Canada has been up to. While working on building new businesses, we encourage friendly existing companies to transform to environmental friendly ones. With the contribution of Canadian clean technology developers who have already proven their capacity for practical, real-world, results-driven innovation, Canada's globally competitive clean technology companies will be transforming industries and improving environmental outcome inside of the country and around the world. Our innovative solutions will create a top 5 Canada export that generates significant economic benefits for Canada and diversifies its economy. In fact, Canada counts on nearly tripling the sector's current value. Given the relatively small size of Canada's domestic market, strong export growth is crucial. But these numbers all prove one thing: the steadiness of Canadians' ideals, how much we desire a better future, with the use of the instruments that scientific innovation has given us. In conclusion, we want Canada's approach to a digital sustainable future to be guided by the same values that guide us as a country: fairness, opportunity, diversity, inclusivity, sustainability, and community. Our future is one in which anyone can play their role.
Okay, still in
5 minutes and 21 seconds.
okay. The jury knows everything. Are you ready for the evaluations? Now you can breathe.
L'ansia è tosta.
Lo so.
Il caffè non aiuta.
Non aiuta. Sì.
Io pure non me ne vado. Quando l'ho fatto
Ma è
cronometrare
così.
8 minuti.
Certo, però l'hai voluto accelerare
Fatta
per ansia. Vabbè. Okay. Ambassador Verga, are you ready?
Ready?
Okay. All with your
Australia.
evaluating Australia. That makes 14. Correct? Now we need to evaluate Canada. And that makes 15. So again, 14 to 15, we have Canada taking the lead. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And off to the next. Ready there? All right. Okay, 2 seconds for commenting. Not much more. Are we okay? Ready for next. Now we have China versus Germany. Germany? Okay.
Giorgio Colau, Istituto Ferraris di Taranto e Marco Sanfilippo Ricetti da Padova.
Okay. Now he's trying to impress us with his computer, but we are not impressed. Pen and paper is still okay for all of us.
Ferraris Taranto.
Ferraris, Taranto, and Rapallo. Okay. All ready?
Yeah.
Calm, cool, and collected. No, just 1 second. Strong, nothing difficult. It seems that you have been given the information that 7 minutes your maximum time, correct kind of activity, for 7 minutes, and you use half of it. What would you consider? What would you evaluate? That is completely different. Qual è stata l'informazione passata? Each. 7 minutes each maximum. And it is exactly what we're doing. 7 minutes maximum per person.
7 minutes in the first phase and 5 minutes in the second phase.
In the final. In the final, not in the second phase. In the final, tomorrow. Okay. Today is 7 minutes each. Maximum. But my question was not answered. What do you consider an activity that is supposed to be for 7 minutes and that people give you an activity for 3.5? It depends, yes.
But,
That you cannot do that.
but
Well, just to give you an idea, you can do something very high quality in 2 seconds, but that is not the ability to interact. Same time allotted, same topic given, and then you have to develop on that. But anyway, from what I see, most people have quite a long speech. So that is not the problem. It's only the number of minutes you use to deliver your speech, the quality of your speaking, the pace in which you speak, and so on. Ambassadore, you were trying to say something.
I would add that it's true that you can say everything in a few lines if you consider that the 10 commandments are just written in 10 lines. But our evaluation is based on a combination of length, of time, of exposition, and of substance. So this is, so it's not only just on the length or exposition. It's a combination. Also the way to expose. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
Since you asked, if it is just 7 minutes, the target, I think the optimal for me would be 5. Something less, because something can happen, the question can arise, and so for me,
But there are no questions. I mean, I'm only applying what I was given as a rule. So
if I have to prepare a speech of 12, I prepare for 10. Just it's my
whatever you can say, but I'm just applying what I was given as a rule of the activity. I'm sorry, I don't want to, but I'm just reading it in Italian. Due paesi alla volta si fronteggiano in maniera successiva in animati public match dedicati a un tema specifico che è comunicato in anticipo dall'organizzazione della durata di 7 minuti ciascuno. Public match della durata di 7 minuti. Questo è quello che io ho letto in italiano. Esattamente. È un public speaking because in this condition we are not given the time to have a public match. So there is no debate. But the maximum number of minutes is 7. So most people have been preparing for 7 minutes. So I don't think it's a big problem. Shouldn't read. Anyway, I guess the trouble is over, correct? Okay. Sorry for this. You're not preparing something else, I guess. No. Okay. Ready for China, your topic?
Big data, artificial intelligence, IoT, how to boost business effectiveness and efficiency.
Okay, ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Georgia, and I'm representing China. And today's topic deals with finding ways and solutions to boost business efficiency by using technology and big data. First of all, we all know that many businesses have been struggling with this pandemic, with the increasing competition and the effectiveness that this problem has been causing to the rates of industry turmoil. Hence why I'm here to discuss some development strategies to boost efficiency in businesses. First of all, in China, we believe that technologies are the key, is the key to use time more efficiently and effectively. For example, we can automate all the tasks, as many tasks as possible, as it will reduce employee boredom and mistakes, and will ensure that processes are done on schedule. Moreover, also use task management software. These are softwares and giving feedback on how the thing run. This because the boss can't be everywhere at once, and so he will not see everything or everyone. So the employees might be able to spot some areas in the company that can be made more efficient, or a process that could be streamlined. It is also important to know where to stop, because most of the times the idea of running a company in a more efficient way is related to the search for more efficiency and to run faster. But the search for, of course, a more efficient business doesn't have to overshadow the other goals. So I believe that by making mistakes and getting feedback from employees, we can understand and monitor what is working and what it isn't. And so sometimes it might be important to slow down some processes to perfectionate the business. I'd like to conclude by remarking again how important technologies are, especially in this period, and how cooperation and open communication are, especially after this pandemic, that has shown us how important human content.
You are the fastest one, 4 minutes and 29 seconds.
Okay. Just 1 second, they're speaking. Once you're ready, we are ready. Germany.
In these last years, technology has evolved fast, leading to a new type of industry, which is the collaborative industry. In this new type of industry, the key to success, to make processes more efficient and improve our products and services, is collaboration between man and machine, in this case, artificial intelligence. German government has already launched and funded its plan to development of artificial intelligence. But how can artificial intelligence and collaborative industry become a reality? Let's see a little bit of the technical side of it. Artificial intelligence can operate and better our way of living only if it has access to big data. What is big data? Big data is data that is collected from all over the world and from all contexts by our smartphones, for example, or by corporate data, and in general by the Internet of Things, which is literally anything that can connect to the Internet. The benefits of this new industry are many, as artificial intelligence will improve our living conditions. For example, it will drive our cars, making our roads smarter and more ecological by enabling an automated and in real-time traffic management, resulting also in fewer or non-car accidents. Mm-hmm. It can be used to predict the necessary maintenance of machinery, so it can prevent general accidents in the workplace or in any other field. It can be used to prevent and recognize diseases that are hard to find, making the healthcare system more efficient. And that's it. Disadvantages of these new technologies are still a solid thing, because artificial intelligence, if used improperly, could replace far more workers than it would create in the computer science field. In fact, it can take the place of many highly qualified professionals like lawyers or accountants. And it can lead to a violation of privacy, because big data, which is the core of artificial intelligence, is gathered through everyone's devices. So it could be used to help criminals or help totalitarians to control population. To use this technology correctly, we've seen that it helps our economy, but Germany's proposals for this are to improve current workers' abilities, so reskilling and upskilling, and making computer science an essential part of the new workers' education. Another thing is to set up a program of collaboration and funding between states, And the last thing is to make sure that privacy is protected. Thank you for your attention.
Okay.
Even faster, 3 minutes and 59.
Quando l'ho fatta a casa erano 5 minuti.
Okay, okay. When you're more relaxed, everything is easy. Okay. It's also the ability to react under pressure. So most of the times, learn a lot and study a lot. When they deliver and they interrogazione, they're under stress, they don't do it very well, not as well as they did it at all. Okay, I'm wasting some time in order to get the evaluations. Okay. More relaxed now? Starting to get more relaxed? Or more shivering? Are we ready? Okay. Right. Make up your final decision for China. And that makes, I don't understand that. Okay, 14. And Germany, 5, and that makes 15. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
The second runner always wins.
That's not a rule, that's just a case. So don't decide on which chair you're going to use, because that's not the real meaning. Okay. Are we ready for next?
Another interesting thing is that since we said that they have to use the 7 minutes,
They're using less.
They became faster.
Yes, absolutely. But my guess is that they have prepared for 3.5.
Yeah.
Anyway, my final comments will be given later. France versus Italy. France, represented by
Georgiana Triff, Europeo Arconate,
Okay.
and Italy, Matteo Cantatore,
Italy.
King James.
Okay. La giuria consapevole, ready? Okay. We're starting with France.
Okay.
Off you go.
That's me. That's me.
Oh, sorry. I was used to
With
have
which
the
positions?
first person. Just want to get the... Okay. France.
Georgiana Triff for France and
Arconate.
Cantatore.
The school, Arconate.
Customer and citizens with no OPPO access to digital technologies are left behind. It's gradually been created between relative privileged people who are able to enjoy the benefits arising from using digital technologies, such as remote access to education, financial inclusion, economic and political empowerment, and the digitally disadvantaged people who experience widening inequalities and are being left further and further behind. Since this is a global issue which obviously has a more evident impact in some countries than in others, I will try to speak about it in a universal way and to propose solutions applicable in most of the countries here present. So more than 90% of people have access to the internet, while in other countries the percentage drops to 50%. But the digital divide also reflects and amplifies the social and economic disparities between different demographic groups within countries. Just think of the people who live in rural areas where broadband connectivity is not available. Think of those with a low income who cannot afford smartphones and broadband connectivity. Think of the people with disabilities or those who are not literate in the language used in software application. All these people are being digitally marginalized. All these people are being left behind. The consequences of the digital divide concern not only the social sphere, but a number of different areas, like the economy, as telecommunication and internet connectivity enable a variety of economic boosting activities like online shopping. And as the coronavirus crisis has shown, it also affects education, as access to information and communication technology, ICT, has been linked to advanced scientific research and academic success. These are just a few examples that are useful to understand that this is a problem that affects us all, and it is therefore in our interest to try to solve it. So the question that we all have to ask ourselves is, what can we do to solve this issue? What strategies can we use to bridge the digital divide? To decrease the digital divide, we must tackle 3 problems: poverty, lack of digital skills, and poor infrastructure. So first of all, one of the chief internet adoption barriers in both developed and developing countries in the world is affordability. A large group of people cannot access the internet because of the high costs involved. According to the Alliance for Affordable Internet, that the cost of smartphones and laptop computers are also expensive, despite technology being a basic need. During the lockdown, many governments or local institutions offered underprivileged citizens technological equipment to allow them to continue working or studying. In France, for instance, the Department Council of Ille-et-Vilaine distributed 600 computers with the aim of remedying the inequalities among students. So this is just an example. Clearly, it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to distribute free computers across the country or around the world. But there are many other alternatives. For example, we could create some spaces in cities and towns where people can use public computers and access the internet. Volunteers could supervise these places, making sure everything works properly and is up to date, and that people use these devices in a responsible way. However, once online, young and old people must be digitally literate to find and share information and to take advantage of the full range of services and opportunities available. One way to solve this problem could be to create digital literacy programs in which young volunteers with a good dose of digital skills and, of course, a desire to do something useful for the community can teach young and old people how to use computers and other digital devices. Finally, the right infrastructure is vital for individuals, organizations, and nations to connect to the internet. Although subscriptions are increasingly globally, high-speed internet connections are still largely out of reach for developing nations. Fortunately, however, companies are actively developing new ways to deliver fast internet through the air rather than by laying down cables, something that could mean nations may soon no longer need to deploy costly infrastructure. In this case, we are already on the right track. So the best thing to do is just continue investing in technological research in order to create new technologies that allow a better and more cost-efficient distribution of the internet around the globe. These were just a few examples and ideas that could help stem the problem of the social divide. Of course, there are many other equally valid alternatives. In fact, I'm sure that if we put our minds together, we can find an agreement on how to solve this not to be an underestimated issue that affects all of us. I would be happy to hear your opinion and ideas on the matter. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Don't worry.
Okay,
No problem.
good afternoon, everybody.
No, I didn't get. Just 1 second. I heard noises from there and I wanted to check. Now you can start.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matteo Cantatore, and I'm here to show you my solution for the issue of poor digitization among Italian people. We Italians are also known all over the world for the longevity of our population and the consequent high number of elderly people who, in recent decades, having found themselves living in a period of transition between two different phases of history, have failed to keep up with technology. In fact, in a society where many of the most important practices are entrusted to computers or smartphones, it's necessary to have at least a basic knowledge on the use of these devices. And therefore, it's the duty of the government to ensure that all the citizens can receive an education about this specific topic, to avoid being overwhelmed by the wave of innovations in constant propagation that sooner or later will leave behind the victims of the digital divide. Otherwise, talking about inclusiveness and accessibility would be useless and hypocritical if you didn't consider the needs of those who have more difficulties using the new medias. In addition, the layout of urban settlements, which appear rarefied in the innermost parts of the peninsula, discourages telephone companies from installing receivers, aware that the earnings will not be sufficient to cover the expenses. Therefore, we will ensure that the public funds, including ones from the Recovery Fund, will be used to finance and expand Infratel, a state-owned company created in order to reduce the areas not covered by the network, by building transmitters to be entrusted to private companies. But now let me come to my second point. If this isn't enough to encourage the population to digitize, the government intends to actively offer its support by funding a project that we'd like to carry out with the help of our French friends and neighbors. We will create a contract in which an Italian telephone manufacturer will be able to participate, and, if France likes this initiative, also an equivalent company of this nation. The aim will be to create a mobile device with a software that could be easily accessible and usable even by people who, for pathological reasons or due to their old age, find difficult to understand how a smartphone works or are unable to make full use of it. The software will include specific applications to stimulate elderly people's minds in the form of recreational pastimes such as crosswords and memory games, but also alarm clocks and timers for taking medicines, voice assistants to carry out their orders, and notepads where to keep passwords and personal information in order not to forget them. To ensure the proper operation of the project, the Italian state intends to purchase the device for all those who won't be able, for economic reasons, to buy them by themselves. Furthermore, free meetings will be organized in every municipality to impart the main notions on the use of these devices for all those who apply for registration. This service will be supported by the creation of an online call center aimed at solving problems related to the use of these technology devices. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. 326. Okay. How many minutes? 326. Okay. Now, your evaluation for France, 15. And for Italy? It's difficult now, 15 to 15. Who is tossing the coin?
It's not easy to choose, I think, because the lady focused in more general terms, but also the boy, the lady was just a good presentation of the Italian situation on the
Even though he tried to offend elderly people, but that would not be considered, not now, later.
So really, we are very embarrassed. Perhaps
Somebody needs to toss a coin. I haven't got a coin, so you cannot do it.
Oh, okay.
You cannot do it. Either Patrizia or President, even though he shouldn't be. Maybe Farrugia, would you please do that for us? That you are neutral to that?
I could lend you the
You
money.
couldn't lend us any coin, could be fake.
Article 5 says that the draw...
It's a public.
In case of a tie, a draw will be made by the president of the...
Yeah, but he will assist. Somebody will toss the coin. And it cannot be the candidates, the delegates. No, no, tu lo devi assistere. It's either Patrizia or Mr. Farrugia, please. Che should. Ehi, mo che l'abbiamo fatta.
si può pure giocare.
I told Mr. Farrugia to do that for us. He's completely neutral to that.
We have to decide which is which.
Yes.
The number is France, and the other side is Italy.
Okay.
Resta in piedi.
Rimane in piedi, stand.
Italy.
Congratulations for France.
Okay. Please don't do that again. Ready for next. In a short time, we'll be needing some light in here, so it's fine with me, but the light is not enough in there. Anyway, we need India and Japan. India?
India is
Okay.
Martina Belpani from Einaudi of Rimini, and Serena Mennella is for Japan, from the Nautical Institute of Procida.
Japan?
Allora, per favore, per ripetere un attimo, allora, India...
India?
Martina Belpani, Istituto di
No, Martina
Martina
Gobbi.
Riserva.
Ah, riserva.
Sì.
Who is India?
Io. Martina Gobbi.
Martina Gobbi is from Einaudi of Rimini,
Yes.
and then Serena Mennella for Japan. Istituto
Pro-
Nautico di Procida.
Dov'è?
Procida. È la stessa di prima, no? È un'altra. No,
È un'altra.
Sì,
Posso essere un po' più chiari?
Procida.
Procida, Giappone.
Giappone e Procida.
Ok.
Non ti incazzare.
Okay, what's your topic?
How to reduce gender inequalities in all economic and social sectors.
Okay, we're starting with India.
Which is the theme?
The topic is
How to reduce inequality, gender
Gender
inequalities in all economic and social
sectors.
Good afternoon, everyone. By increasing the value of goals, we can contribute to achieving specific outcomes, such as
increasing access to education, ending early marriages, and eliminating gender bias. Changing the value of girls must include men, women, and boys. It has to mobilize many sectors of society. Only when the perception of society changes will the right of all girls in India be respected. Empowering girls requires targeted investment and collaboration. Providing girls with services and security, education and skills can reduce the risks they face and enable them to develop fully and contribute to India's growth. Girls find it difficult to access life-saving resources, information, and social network in their daily lives. Access to programs tailored to the need of girls with a focus on education and life skills development, ending violence and the needs and contribution of girls from vulnerable groups, including those with disabilities, can strengthen the resilience of millions of girls. All girls, especially teenagers, need platforms to express the challenges they face in daily lives and explore the solutions that work for them so they can build a better future for themselves and their communities. UNICEF India 2018-2022 country program has been developed in response to the identification of deprivation that Indian children face, including gender-based deprivation. Each programmatic outcome is committed to a gender priority that is not explicitly in its program, budget, and results. These include health, nutrition, disaster risk reduction, education, in which gender-responsive support to enable out-of-school girls and boys to learn and enabling more gender-responsive curricula and pedagogy. Child protection, ending child and early marriage. WASH, improving girls' access to menstrual hygiene management, including through well-equipped separate toilets in the schools. Social policy, supporting state governments to develop gender-responsive cash transfer programs and supporting women's leadership in local governance. Thank you.
Thank you. 4:59. Okay, 3. Okay, now we are ready for Japan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Serena, and today I'm going to talk about how to fight gender inequalities. Despite being in the 21st century, gender inequalities keep affecting the world in its entirety. Women throughout history have striven for their rights at the cost of their own lives. And by grappling with inequality and discrimination, women have taken a step forward in bringing about sweeping changes in society. As a result of failing institutional systems, we still hear about gender gaps in the workplaces, careers. The idea of women as mothers, perfect wives, and housekeepers is well rooted in Japanese society. And this sexy system is a barrier for women succeeding in their life work. Authorities' latest national survey in 2020 showed mothers still do 3.6 times more houseworks than fathers. Accordingly, many women either stop working after having children or go back to work with no promotion. Some, instead, decide not to have children to pursue their careers. Statistically speaking, Japan's birth rate is currently at a record low. And this only proves how negatively gender gaps have impacted society and population growth. The result is that men still dominate business and political leadership in Japan. On the other hand, policies have failed in meeting the needs of women. It is and will be a perpetual cycle if no action is taken. Politics is an important tool against discrimination and social bias. The Japanese party programs will let women to have more children and meanwhile remain employed. Another major initiative took place in 2015. Womenomics was founded by then Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. This economic strategy intended to create a society where women could fit in and aspire to leadership. Aside from the government's positive prospects, female roles in the marketplace are way harder to manage. Working mothers who are in charge of juggling a career and children should be mentioned. But how should institutions take action to close gender gaps? The first step to bridge gender gaps in the economic sphere is to boost childcare. This program could help women struggling with life after childbirth and guarantee them a job after maternity leave. Offering flexible working to allow for childcare duties will make it easier. On October 1st, 2020, the Ministry of Labor started discussing a plan to support paternity leave and encourage male employees to take such leave. Sharing parental leave policies would indeed enable women and men to raise children equally. A key part of this project would be getting more and more women in the workforce, assuring them economic participation and opportunity. But it's not just a political task. Employers can support gender equality by making sure women do not earn less than men in equivalent positions. As well as equal pay, another step to take would be promoting female leadership. Polls display that qualified women often keep from progressing to this position due to gender discrimination. Therefore, firms and enterprises should support internal growth opportunities for all employees and be completely transparent with them. Because there are still many issues, Prime Minister Suga will pass the 5th Basic Plan for Gender Equality, following the footsteps of Womenomics. The aim is to set targets that will gradually close gender gaps in the long run. But is society partly responsible for it? Well, it is. Gender inequality in Japan is beyond economic affairs. Much of the problem lies with the older generation of men who almost assume they are superior to women in making decisions. Japan is known for its conservative and patriarchal society, where Buddhist and Confucian values are still present. This strongly religious mindset has conceptualized the notion of women as stay-at-home mothers and fathers as breadwinners. Through the development of education, younger men are piecemeal fathoming the central role of gender parity. Education is the deadliest weapon against sexism and prejudice, and no one should be deprived of the right to education, let alone because of gender bias. There's still a long way to go until women have a voice in all sectors. Yet, our institutions are paving the way to assure them a well-deserved life and a relevant position in society.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
6 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay. 14. And then for Japan, 15.
Thank
So Japan, next winner. Thank you, girls. Okay. Ready for next? We have Indonesia versus Mexico. Indonesia.
Indonesia with Peter Srinivasan and Mexico with Elena Hoy Ortiz.
Okay.
Represented, which school represented?
The school represented.
Peter Srinivasan represents Istituto Bachelet of
Einstein,
Rome.
yeah.
And Elena Hoy Ortiz, Einaudi of Rome.
Bachelet is not mentioned, which is the
Well, it's written ITC.
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 Roma Boy, ITC Bachelet. Mexico. Okay, so we start with Indonesia.
Yeah.
The topic of your speech will be
Sustainable energy and
Transition.
sustainable energy transition in Indonesia and around the globe.
okay.
Yeah.
Are we all ready? Yes? Jury? Jury ready? You're not the jury, you're the journalist.
I'm ready.
Oh, okay.
Indonesia, ecco qua.
Microfono. Closer to the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Selamat everybody. I'm Peter Srinivasan from Indonesia. It's my greatest pleasure to be with here, and I'm honored to represent my country. As we know, the coronavirus has challenged the sustainable development of our world, which now needs reparations. We have to ensure that the aftermath of the pandemic is being handled accurately, whilst not forgetting the other most important issues that's threatening our planet. As leaders of the world's most economically potent countries, we have the duty, and it's an undisputable responsibility, to go to the edge of our abilities to provide the most prosperous environment for the inhabitants of this planet. This includes transitioning from unsustainable energy to sustainable ones, and bringing newly innovative resilience to our interconnected world. It is our goal to bring a sense of lasting safety to every resident of this planet, as more than five of the goals of the 2030s agenda is about sustainability and innovation. We must set up new sustainable ways for humans, not only humans, animals, and especially for our Earth, which is at stake. I'm happy and I'm so proud to say that Indonesia's the main aims of Indonesia is sustainability. Considering sustainability and energy transition, Indonesia's unique and natural environment provides excessive potential for renewable energy, primarily hydroelectric power, which is the source on which our government is forcing to start numerous constructions. Within renewable energy sources, solar energy is attracting investments abroad. Other sustainable energy resources used by Indonesia are many, which includes geothermal, wind, biomass, and ocean energy. Indonesia is the largest economy in Southeast Asia, accounting for around 2/5 of the region's energy consumption. Energy demand across our countries, more than 17,000 islands, could increase by 4/5, and electricity demand could triple by 2015 to 2013. In February 2020, our government announced Indonesia's first renewable energy bill. We have set a target of shifting 23% of our renewable energies by 2025 and by 31% by 2050. We are preparing to reduce energy consumption and carbon intensity from the transportation system without causing economic or technological distress on our population. We want to continue creating renewable resources whilst bringing the technology and development forward in our country.
In fact, our country has experienced a massive progress within the last 10 years. As in 2011, only 50% of the population had access to electricity, and by 2019, we were able to make it accessible for over 98.9% of our population. This includes innovative and sustainable ways, and most of this were natural resources. Our government has taken in deep consideration on intensifying efforts to make growing electricity demand by capturing renewable energy resources, focusing more on developing renewables for the industries, building and transports, developing an integrated and comprehensive bioenergy program to ensure sustainable and development to the usage of this vital energy source. It's one of our main concerns, the necessity of switching to cleaner and more sustainable energy, reducing the level of pollution caused by various energies, which also creates global warming and climate change. Indonesia has also started a campaign in schools, which is named Go Green, which is to educate our future generations on going green and on sustainability. And we have taken more steps to ensure that our country will go sustainable within a few years. In my personal experience, living in Indonesia, I have seen that our country has taken so many steps forward. We have gone so green, and we are searching new ways to do things ecologically. Naturally, within our country's beautiful nature and tropical tourist destinations, we are more than willing to contribute our efforts in keeping our country's environment intact. We are motivated to reduce our carbon emission and to integrate environmental protection and maintenance. We are motivated to work with the G20 and the rest of the world to find solutions for sustainable energy, and agreeing that our world deserves the best and the safest and the most sustainable ways as human lifestyle. Thank you.
5 minutes 30 seconds.
Okay. Are we ready for Mexico? Mexico. Ci sei?
Mexico. Non è Saudi Arabia.
No, leave it.
Good afternoon to everyone. A warm welcome to all of you. I'm glad to see that so many have been able to come here. Today, I'm here for introduce the sustainable energy transition of my country, Mexico. So the legislation already in place in our country makes a good foundation for using sustainable and renewable energy. Our country would like to establish a reliable energy supply with competitive prices. The aim is to increase the proportion of renewable energy used by 2030. Mexico has committed to international agreements to tackle climate change. Our program works closely with international partnership, which provide funding for implementing energy efficiency measures. The aim is to promote the change of experience. With the General Climate Change Law and Energy Transition Law, the Mexican government is becoming actively involved in protecting the climate. The Energy Transition Law in particular forms the basis for the country's political activities in energy generation and use, increasing energy productivity and reducing emissions of greenhouse gases. The Energy Transition Act's purpose is to promote sustainable and efficient use of energy, regulate the obligation of power companies related to the mandatory share of clean energies, and push for reduction of the polluting emissions of the electric power industry, while ensuring competitiveness of the clean power sector within the new wholesale electricity market. We want to promote generation of clean power to reach the levels set forth in the Climate Change Act, for the electric power industry, including a minimum share of clean energies in power generation of 30% by 2021 and 35% by 2024. Moreover, our country is the third most attractive country in the world to invest in photovoltaic solar projects from Mexico 2016. The potential of solar energy in Mexico is so high because the country is located in the so-called solar belt, so we have to insist on decentralized energy production from renewable sources. This will be achieved by supporting new business models and increasing participation by the private sector. To this end, the project will issue advice taking into account in particular the financial situation and the market in Mexico. The project focuses on developing and introducing new financing mechanisms or finance products and reducing regulatory obstacles. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, 326.
Che facciamo? Diamo a lei.
Ready?
Right.
Okay.
Allora, for Indonesia.
Indonesia. That's 14. And Mexico?
Ho fatto sbagliato.
If you made a mistake, just correct. It's not.
Sorry. Già perché Indonesia è lui. No, quanto abbiamo dato allora? 5? Io ho dato 5, 5, 4.
Io ho dato 4.
Allora 5. Aspetta, 5. No, io ho dato ho dato sbagliato.
Just give us the total.
Okay.
That is 14, correct?
Mexico.
Mexico now. That makes 15. Okay. Right, Mexico, passes. Thank you. Thank you.
No, sì, scriviamo, sì. No, non confondevo che era il primo che doveva dare meno.
Adesso abbiamo Corea e Arabia.
Corea, Talete contro Ferrari.
Now we're getting into the other debate. Republic of Korea and Saudi Arabia.
Republic of Korea, Tommaso Salerno, Talete di Roma, and for Saudi Arabia, Daniel Bayern, Ferrari style.
Okay. Good afternoon. Ready for the speaking? Take off your mask.
Good afternoon.
Take off your mask. Okay, we're starting with Korea. Correct?
Yep.
Are we ready?
Yes. Now we are ready.
And the topic is?
Global climate change mitigation and adaptation. Thank you all for having me here today to address you about South Korea. I would like to introduce you to what this country truly is and what it is doing with respect to climate change emergency. Let me please give you a couple of pieces of information about the distribution of our population within our territory. Roughly, half of it lives in big cities, therefore in urban contexts, while the other half lives in rural contexts, usually nearby some kind of water source, like sea, rivers, or lakes. You're probably wondering, why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about the distribution of our population? Well, the reason is that all of our citizens are dramatically and drastically affected by climate change. Now, please imagine being part of that 50% of population who lives nearby as some kind of water source. And please imagine to read this study conducted by a meteorological institution who says that in 9 years, in 2030, the waters around South Korea will rise above 1.1 meters. Well, the obvious response would be to move to the cities, to abandon our places. Therefore, us, as the government of the Republic of Korea, have to ask a question to ourselves. Are our cities actually a safe place for them? Well, right now, they aren't. To think about this, to justify this, we have to think back to 2010, when a typhoon hit one of our main cities that was placed nearby the coast. Please imagine to live in a skyscraper nearby the water, in front of the ocean, to live, let's say, at the 11th floor. Every day you open your window and you can admire the ocean. But suddenly, in just an hour, the ocean isn't in front of you anymore, is under you too. So basically, you cannot go out of your house anymore. That's why us, as the government of the Republic of Korea, has to work to improve the safety of our cities. And we're doing this with a project that is called Disaster Risk Reduction in Cities. Well, we can work as the government of the Republic of Korea, but that's not enough. We need a general cooperation. Us all, as the states of the G20, have to cooperate in order to overcome the climatic emergency. We can do that by aiming to a same goal. We're doing this by using the project, the Green New Deal. And I know that most of you work towards that direction too. So we are aiming to reduce carbon emissions by 2050. What I'm trying to convey to you with this presentation is that we cannot live alone. We cannot try to save ourselves, but we have to think about us all. We have to think about the other. Otherwise, there's no future. The cooperation is the future. Please, please take this message and cooperate with us. Thank you.
4 minutes and 36 seconds.
Okay. Shall we wait? Okay, there is a question?
Just
a minute break.
Yes. If you have questions or comments in the meantime, we can share that. Any comments? Any question? Is everybody confident, more confident now? Oh, yes, we need to wait. I'm sorry. We
it's no problem.
still need to wait.
No problem at all.
Okay, good. Saudi Arabia is Taranto, correct? Yes. Ready for Saudi Arabia?
Yes.
Okay.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Byrne, and I'll be talking about Saudi Arabia and its mitigation and adaptation of climate change within the walls of its kingdom. Now, as we all well know, climate change has had clear impacts and profound effects on both natural and man-made systems. Over the past decades, based on various studies, scenarios, and predictions of greenhouse gas emissions, we know that the range of which climate can change is quite wide and depends on, most importantly, depends on policy decisions we make today. Now, the risk of negative impacts as a result from climate change results from the interaction between climate-related hazards and the vulnerability and exposure of both natural systems and human populations. Of course, we must also keep in mind that the precise level of climate change necessary, let's say, to trigger an abrupt and irreversible transition remains unclear, it remains uncertain. But one thing is for sure, the higher the global temperature gets, the higher the risk. Now, talking about risks, what are some of the major ones associated with climate change and global warming? We have, for example, flooding, either in coastal areas or inland, so when changes in precipitation change the level of bodies of water, or the breakdown of infrastructure networks through extreme weather, increments in mortality and morbidity during heat waves, food securities and the breakdown of food production chains, insufficient access to water for both drinking purposes and irrigation purposes, and of course the loss of marine, terrestrial and inland water ecosystems and the various benefits they provide. Subsequent major risks include the slowdown of economic growth, which would further make poverty reduction more difficult, which is already a major issue in Saudi Arabia, which would in turn, as a common conflict cause, lead to possible riots, civil wars, and intergroup violence. Now, there are two possible approaches to face these risks. The first is to prevent more of these climate changes from happening through mitigation measures, and the other is through adaptation to these changes and their consequences should they happen. Now, the effects of climate change are especially clear in the Arab states of the Middle East and North African regions, where droughts and temperatures even excess of 50 degrees Celsius have now become the norm. Over the past 40 years alone, in fact, average temperatures in Saudi Arabia have risen by more than 2 degrees Celsius, 3 times the global average. In fact, global average temperatures can be misleading because they hide local temperature increases, stated Natalia Odonlikova, a PhD student in Saudi Arabia's King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. She continued, "Based on research, we concluded that the rate of temperature increase in Saudi Arabia is indeed drastic. This is what people often misunderstand. When we speak in the context of just 1 degree, we should understand that global average temperature readings and increases can be misleading." End quote. So around 5 years ago, Saudi Arabia made its first major move to tackle and reduce climate change. So the world's leader in the production of crude oil, a country whose economy depends on petroleum for around 80% of its revenues, is now thinking and aiming for a world and planet after oil. Saudi Arabia, in fact, submitted a plan called the Intended Nationally Determined Contribution ahead of the Paris Climate Summit adopted in 2015-2016. And, excuse me a second. And in this plan, also one of their central aims was to cut carbon emissions by up to 130 million tons of carbon dioxide through 2030. So all this will be done by diversifying its economy away from a reliance from oil and gas. Now, this plan has been put into effect fairly recently, only in 2020, in fact, last year, although it has been adopted in 2015. So again, it is quite impressive because for a country that depends on oil for around 90% of its exports, a country that sits on roughly 16% of the world's oil reservoir, and a country that's been called a petrostate for decades for the power and authority that oil and gas have acquired within its economy, it's definitely a major issue. And what does it really mean for this country to be making this plan, adhering to this plan, and aligning with the rest of the world in the global battle for climate change? Well, this is what this agreement is all about, by the way, the Paris Climate Agreement. The central aim of the Paris Climate Agreement, which is a direct consequence of goal number 13 of the 2030 Agenda, is precisely that of strengthening the global response to the common threat that is climate change, mainly by keeping global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius and above pre-industrial levels, and also to further pursue the effort of lowering this temperature increase even further, all the way down to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So, and this act also, the agreement, also states that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So also it. I'm just having a short lapse in my memory and my judgment, but one of the major issues regarding climate change. One of the main, let's say, counter-arguments against the nationally determined contribution. So the Paris Agreement, one of its major issues is it requires each and every one of its parties to bring forward a naturally determined contribution, its best efforts through one of these NDCs. And one of the main counter-arguments towards the NDC that Saudi Arabia has brought forward, although in other words that of cutting carbon emissions by up to 130 million tons of carbon dioxide through 2030, is that... Oh, well then I better switch immediately to the end. So, however, as much as this sounds like good news, the contribution to the Paris Agreement, Saudi Arabia has, let's say, there are still some caveats in the submitted plan. Saudi Arabia has in fact asked for tech assistance regarding their vision of moving away from climate change and global emissions. They therefore have recognized they've signed out and described their vulnerability to climate change and its resolutions, and therefore this Paris Agreement. Is my time over?
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Done.
Really
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now for your difficult decision. With the final decision, yes.
So, for
we
the
have
Republic of Korea,
incredible.
18.
18.
For now, we have Saudi Arabia. 17.
Well, I'm very happy with that, anyways.
You should be very happy for yourself. Congratulations, absolutely.
Just a suggestion. This is a simulation. A simulation to be at the General Assembly, UN General Assembly, or in G20. So consider that your speech, your intervention has to be translated by interpreters. If you speak too speedy, they have no time to translate. So don't be in a hurry. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, congratulations, both of you. Thank you so much. Right. Ready for next. And we have Russia versus South Africa. Congratulations again. Russia.
Russia has Alessandro
Okay.
Leonori from Institute Leopardi of Macerata, and South Africa Alessandro Scattolini, Europeo.
Sorry, start again because the audience was moving around.
For Russia, we have Alessandro Leonori from Leopardi Macerata, and from South Africa, Alessandro Scattolini, Istituto Europeo Arconada.
Okay. Russia ready?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Can I start?
Yeah.
Well, first I'd like to start by defining the concept of transparency itself. Transparency normally is a process of doing things in a way that rewards openness. It clearly shows what the subject's doing. In a political environment, this means generally a system is accountable, that is open to the object, to the common man. And this is the basis of democracy, and generally an enemy of corruption and of corruption of a system. A state should be transparent. In fact, today most of things would like to be transparent. The state should be transparent, society should be transparent, mentality should be transparent and open, and generally the UN does all it can in order to support transparency all over the globe through its development plan, which has various state branches which offer analysis on economics, administration, and culture in order to assess the transparency of a certain culture and gives it a score. As a representative of the Russian Federation, a country that is both great in size and in renown in the world, I am quite sad to note that my country ranks quite low at the 129th place, in fact, which is quite demoralizing. But we in the Russian government aren't going to be stopped by this, and have made many propositions in order to improve the system and generally restore faith in both the government and in the administration. The first, starting from an historical background, Russia has had to deal with corruption since the Russian Empire, and in a especially relevant way to the modern Russia since the Soviet Union, which was mostly governed by a clique of unelected, corrupt, and generally inefficient bureaucrats and state officials called the apparatchiks. Russia had to inherit the problems of the Soviet Union in its administration, and its messy privatization didn't save it from the problems it had before. But since 2008, Russia has had an anti-corruption plan, which was started by then President Medvedev, and it generally improved the situation somewhat. Originally, it was a plan was renewed every 2 years, but since 2018, the plan has been renewed every 3 years. The newest plan, which was proposed and accepted in 2021 by President Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, has many propositions, including streamlining the legal system of the country and uniforming its laws in every single of its oblasts and regional governments in order to improve accessibility and generally remove the many different loopholes that corruption used in order to take a hold of the system. And it also tried to reduce basically the corruption by forcing openness and transparency in serving the while buying services or needs and works by governments, by local governments and central states, thus reducing corruption during commissions, and also forced many different private officials and entrepreneurs to open up their companies or their own accounts to the public eye and generally the tax revenues in order to reduce tax evasion. In fact, entrepreneurship and its corrupt variant is a very big problem in the Russian Federation, as around 84% of its companies aren't very transparent, and the country has a general transparency score, a score which was made by the United Nations in order to rank various countries of 2.9 out of 10, which is very much insufficient to this prestige. And the country also started to collaborate with international groups working to reduce corruption in various single states. An example of which is the latest G20 anti-corruption group, which went on from the 28th of September to the 1st of October 2021. And Russia, along with all of its members, decided to accept various proposals like the I Principle plan to combat corruption, the Accountability Program of Chekhov 2021, and especially the Action Plan 2022-2024. Generally, the country has had to deal with a lot of things in its past, and while many in the world just see Russia as a backwards country, its people, its government, its supporters of its government and their opponents generally believe that the country can make striking steps towards the fair and a just future and build a new and glorious Russia.
Okay, thank you. Ready for South Africa?
Ready?
Yes.
Good evening. Today I would like to bring to your attention one of the most widespread and harmful problems of our society: corruption. This phenomenon is subtle. It starts from the roots of the government, but its consequences reach even the most distant branches of our everyday lives, like a disease that slowly takes over the body of the victim. And yes, corruption has always existed, but we can't think that it's normal. We must not think that it's a part of our society, or they will win. The few ones whose interests come before the others in a corrupt government. Our goal must be to try to stop, or at least slow down, this plague. As you already know, my country had and still has a big problem of corruption. Our former president, Zuma, ruled with bribes and favoritism. But the consequences of his action still persist. But after all, someone could say that there are more pressing problems. Maybe that in the end corruption does not kill anyone. But that's not true. It is thanks to this mentality that it can proliferate, even in sectors where illegality cannot and must not be admitted, like security or even worse, healthcare. The pandemic has not stopped these reckless actions, which go beyond mere selfishness or ambition. corruption is like a chain that limits the territory's movement and development. Since our current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, came to power, efforts to fight corruption have multiplied. In the last year, there have been 539 arrests and 99 convictions related to this issue. But how was it possible to fight this plague? Three key words: transparency, collaboration, and competence. But let's start with transparency. Showing the results of actions against corruption has multiple advantages. One, it increases people's trust in the government, because they won't have to rely on the words of a politician, but on data and documents. In second place, it makes everyone aware of how much suffering it's causing, showing the consequences in short and long-term periods. Then collaboration. After having informed the people, it is necessary to include them in the daily fight against corruption. But how? Through initiatives, the creation of a special line to report criminal acts, and meetings in schools. Then, last but not least, competence. How can we rely on law enforcement if they have proven us not to be excluded from this kind of trafficking? Well, we need to establish special investigative units. An example is the one created to investigate fraud and corruption linked to the pandemic in my country, South Africa. Their action led to the suspension of Anban Pillai, Vice Director of the Ministry of Health. But we have talked about transparency, but what does in practical way mean? During the trial of our former president, Ramaphosa made some observations. He said that the whole political class to prevent abuse of power and misappropriation of resources, and that the ANC, his party, admitted that they made some mistakes and they did not meet the expectations of the South African people regarding the responsibilities of the government. Well, this meant that our people had a point of reference, not only a politician, but a man who is ready to admit his mistakes, but who is also ready to start again to build a new country, a new fair country. I invite all of you to visit the following site, www.gov.za/anti-corruption, where you can find hundreds of information on our government's action against corruption. But our situation, despite our efforts, is still not the best. South Africa ranks 69th in the 2020 Perception Corruption Index. But since 2018, there has been a significant decrease of corruption. Curling up cannot be a solution. Isolation only leads to worsening. This phenomenon concerns both domestic and foreign policy, because corruption is not limited by geographical borders. We have to make the right choice and leave pride aside. Collaboration is the right way. Together we can do it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, thanks a lot.
5 minutes and 12.
Are the judges ready?
Ready.
Okay. Not yet. And South Africa, 16. Congratulations to Russia. Thank you.
Should I clap myself? Should I clap myself? Yeah.
No, you should clap everybody because
Right.
everybody's doing fine. Thanks a lot. Now to the next one. That will be Turkey versus USA. Okay.
For Turkey, we have Sofia Onofri, Lice Tirapallo, against Lorenzo Bulmez e Einaudi Rimini.
Einaudi Rimini. And we'll be starting with yeah, I'm just catching their attention. Okay, we'll be starting with Turkey.
Ci siamo sbagliati. Sì, abbiamo dato sì, perché cazzo, era il primo a intervenire.
Yes?
Per favore.
Ah.
Il giovanotto rappresenta
Einaudi Rimini.
Rimini. Rappresenta
L'America.
USA.
Rimini, Stati Uniti.
Sì.
Perfetto. E la signorina?
Rapallo, Turchia.
Perfetto, grazie.
A very cheerful good afternoon to all. I feel honored to be given the opportunity to speak here. The motion for debate today is upgrading labor market regulation to drive growth and innovation. This also through the improvement of social conditions. The labor markets operate to find good matches between workers and jobs. Of course, it's clear that work is a right and a duty, but it must be carried out in good conditions, must respect certain limits of working hours, and must be paid. Unfortunately, in Turkey, many people are unemployed. Unemployed people are defined as those are not currently working, but who are actively looking for a job. But how can they look for a job if there aren't the right conditions to do so? To make matters worse things, we can see that 95% of Turkish workers would like to live abroad. This for three principal reasons. Firstly, in Turkey, only around 52% of people have a paid job, a percentage below the lowest average rate recorded. The highest concentration of minimal or lower wage is concentrated in construction, industries, and services. Secondly, in Turkey, around 33% of employees work very long hours. There is an evidence that very long hours working hours can harm personal health, compromise safety, and increase stress. Turkey is by far the country with the highest percentage of people who work very long hours. The quantity and quality of free time is important for general well-being and can provide additional benefits for physical and mental health. Thirdly, the personal security. Considering these problems, I was thinking about how we could improve the labor market in Turkey. But then I thought, how can the economic situation improve if there are still inequalities? One of the most important inequalities in Turkey is that of gender. Equality between women and men is a human right and forms the basis of democratic societies. Women are stuck in a situation where society only expects them to be a good wife and good housewife. The best way women can change old perception is to take more part in economic life. The participation number of women in the workforce in Turkey are much lower than in the other countries. But are we sure that this discrimination problem exists only in Turkey? If there was a greater interaction between different states, it will be less difficult to solve these problems. For example, education level is one of the most important factors affecting women participation to the labor market, as we have able to see thanks to the 2030 agenda, which aims to ensure equality of education. In my opinion, a good idea could be to carry out school projects that unite different countries and culture, such as increasing the Erasmus proposal in the primary schools, because it would contribute to a wider mental openness. In addition, involving young people in open government initiative can lead to an increased civic understanding and interest among young people. As the education level of women increases, their labor force participation rate gets higher. Therefore, in my opinion, to overcome barriers that reduce female participation in work, the government and institutions should take some measures to change the gender biases in society. Some of the most important solutions are increasing the level of education and training of women also between different countries, expanding childcare and healthcare services, raising social awareness to abolish the traditional rule structure based on gender. What I'm trying to say is that More women enter in workforce and become economically independent, more this perception that women are inferior can be overcome, and the violation of their rights can be prevented. In conclusion, I would like to quote a sentence from Hikmet, a great Turkish poet. Don't give up on a dream just because you think it will take too long to realize it. Time will pass anyway. So, therefore, don't give up on the achievement of these objects. It's not an abstract thing. We must work to achieve them. Otherwise, sustainable development will not be possible if gender inequality is not seized as an urgent problem to be solved. Thank you for the attention.
Okay, are we ready for the USA?
Yes.
Yes? Ready? Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm gonna talk upgrading labor market regulation to drive growth and innovation. The prevailing narrative is that Americans now work in an economy of perpetual and growing job insecurity. One in which they frequently lose jobs and where new technologies, such as artificial intelligence, only makes matters worse. As such, it's time for the pandings and firmages to calm down and the end and pessimistic narrative about out of control technology treatments jobs. The prevailing narrative is a myth. Jobs security actually has improved since the mid-1990s. The number of workers laid off each year as a share of all jobs has increased. The same trend of greater job security outgrows all industries. Jobs are more secure now than they have been in decades. U.S. looking at the Broadman's measures of total job loss. Define how jobs has eliminated when the establishment closed down or downsized. The U.S. economy has seen fewest jobs lost as a share of total employment, which has similar trends at the individual industry level. 21 years later, the figure was down of 10.8%. The recession has started at 21st century at the greatest recession of 2008, both caused jobs losses to spike. Since recessions end in the early 20s, job losses have steadily declined as a share of all jobs and economy. This trend mixes a labor market recovery post-Great Recession, where jobs lost through closing and continue through decades, while jobs are forming and downsize mainly and remaining stable. Finally, the spike in jobs loss and global and pandemic has not stopped these long-run trends. Despite the alarmism surrounding new technologies and the claim and they have more work, more secure, now than it was in last 2 decades. But security does not necessarily translate in prosperity. Disputation is over drive and growth. As companies adopting more efficient technologies and new business model gains market share, policy should not try slow down labor distribution. If anything, they should try speed it up. At the same time, the United States need more robust policies to improve jobs transition. The assistance and reduce skills mistakes as information technology and innovation. The Foundation ITEF has laid out serious changes in policies and programs can help lead off. An innovative economy requires dynamic technological change, requires workforce capable of evolving alongside requirements of technology change. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. No, just looking at the length of this in comparison to what you have. Okay. Your evaluation for Turkey. 16. And then we have your, I saw a 6. 556. And then USA. I don't see yours. 15. So congratulations to Turkey that passes. Thank you. Okay, now we are getting to the last one, and I give you my decision. I think the United Kingdom should be asked to deliver her speech anyway, your presentation, and then we will evaluate that, whatever the presence of the other contendant is. Okay? Do you agree? Yes. I guess you deserve to do what you came for. Okay, so.
Elisa Peretti from King of Geneva.
Yes.
Liceo King, Geneva. And preparing, your topic is preparing?
Preparing current and future workers for coming industrial revolution.
Okay. All agree? Good.
Okay. Do I have to?
No, it's on already. You see the red light there.
Good afternoon, I'm Elisa and I'm representing the UK. I'm very honored to be here to talk about how to prepare current and future workers for coming industrial revolutions. Nowadays, we are living in the so-called fourth industrial revolutions that brings a whole host of new digital technologies that are set to have disruptive impact on the UK's workforce and pose significant challenges for our society. It's been shown by BCG, the Boston Consulting Group research, that there is a gap between the UK and its peers, but this gap is not yet a gulf. So it can be closed with a coordinated and collaborative relationship between industry, government, and academia. And UK could really be among the leaders of Industry 4.0. Why is it important for the UK? It's been very well documented that by leading this new next digital industrial revolution, the UK could realize industrial efficiency gains of 25%, manufacturing sector growth of 1.5 to 3%, and delivering annual growth of approximately 0.5 of GDP. These benefits could be much higher with a clear national strategy which supports the UK's industrial digital transformations plans. So what does UK need to do? To encourage talent outside London and the Southeast and ensure that benefits are shared nationally, the UK and the government should create regional investment funds and should also continue to invest financial capitals in effective and high-speed technological infrastructure. The education system should also work to ensure that the future workforce has the technical skills and flexibility of outlook the essential in the Industry 4.0 workforce. In fact, in the future, a lot of skills will be required that now in the present we don't have. For example, the so-called soft skills that are the ones that can't be replaced by machines, like emphasis, or also leading abilities like project managing, etc. But also more technical skills like how to use computers, phones, and all things that the Z generation all know. Some of this work, in fact, is already being done by broader social trends, and the next generation to enter the workforce will already have lived digital lives. So the use of smartphones and social media is an integral part of their routine. The UK, furthermore, could go much farther by eradicating the gender gap and encouraging more young women into STEM and technological disciplines. And also using the power of innovation to help satisfying the needs of an aging society. These are the things that I think could help UK to prepare the workers for the Industrial Revolution. And thanks to you for having listened to me. And
okay, thank you. We don't need that much time, even though it was quite short. Okay. And the jury will be giving ready. 17. Huh?
Thank you.
Congratulations. You obviously passed. Now, there wasn't supposed to be a real pause, but I'll have a break. I suggest we'll have a break. If you are good enough to go out, stretch your legs, make some phone calls, and so on, and come back in 10 minutes, my suggestion would be to reduce. I'm sorry. My suggestion is to reduce the time for the semi-final to 6. So we save some time and you have a short break. Is that okay for everybody? Okay, ready. See you later for the semi-final. Thank you.
Prova, prova.
Allora. Una cosa, per cortesia, il paese che parla per primo si deve sedere alla mia sinistra e il secondo alla mia destra, perché si sono create inversioni e quindi non ci per sicurezza. Non abbiamo il nome del paese, quindi purtroppo non si poteva definire. Adesso procediamo comunque con questa semifinale, ma il primo paese che parla deve stare alla mia sinistra e il secondo alla mia destra. È chiaro? Va bene? Quando arriva anche il presidente di giuria, procediamo. Allora, approfitto per chiedere qualche commento. Qualche commento da parte... Mica è in...
Siamo già in diretta.
No.
Sì. No, ormai siamo partiti.
Ah, bene. Any comments? Any comments on the delegates part? Any question? Any comment? Any remark? Nothing at all. Okay. So, we are ready to start the semifinals. The countries involved will be as follows.
We'll have 5 semifinals. It will be Brazil against Canada, Germany against Italy, Japan against Mexico, South Korea against Russia, and Turkey against UK. Thank you. So we start with Brazil.
Oh, wait a minute, let's put these people together. The two countries, the two delegates that will be...
Yeah, the first 2 ones will be Sofia Cotta for Brazil and Camilla Andreozzi for Canada.
Okay.
Sofia Cotta, Istituto Talete di Roma, and Camilla Andreozzi, Leopardi di Macerata.
Are you ready, girls? Okay. Brazil on my left.
And
let's give the other names so we all know.
Yeah.
Brazil,
Sofia Cotta, Brazil, and Camilla Andreozzi for Canada.
No, even for the rest of the countries, the complete semifinal.
So Brazil, Sofia Cotta,
Yes.
Canada, Camilla Andreozzi, Germany, Marco Sanfilippo, Italy, Matteo Cantatore, Japan, Serena Mennella, Mexico, Helena Hoy Ortiz, Republic of Korea, Tommaso Salerno, Russia, Alessandro Leonori, Turkey, Sofia Onofri, and UK, Elisa Peretti. The first 2 ones are Sofia Cotta and Camilla Andreotti.
Brazil on my side, on my left.
I'm here.
And Canada on my right. Now, the combination of these 2 girls, because they were supposed to be supported by the... Okay. Okay. We have some more can we have some more light in this place? Ok, ambasciatore Verga, presidente di giuria.
Ecco, here we are.
Brazil.
Brazil, my left.
Yes.
I know her. I recognize.
Canada, on my right. Topic.
The need to ensure inclusive opportunities for all in the future of work.
All right.
So, honorable chairs and fellow delegates, I'm here now again to continue.
Start the countdown. Have you started the countdown?
Oh.
Sorry.
No problem.
Relax.
The topic?
Okay, ready.
Okay, so honorable chairs and fellow delegates, I'm here now again to continue arguing the need to ensure inclusive opportunities for all in the future of work. I may ask for your collaboration in finding a global solution for this problem, because working together is the only way to find, to reach a real, immediate, and achievable compromises. People is one of the three main pillars of action about the G20 project. Our goal is about real people, real human beings. We must look after them indeed, because ensuring work in the future is actually ensuring future to people. Our goal is reducing inequality, which has been rising over the past decades, and even further in the present crisis. COVID-19 pandemic disrupted not only our lifestyle, but it has also widened the diversity gaps in the global workforce. It is a priority for G20 countries to reduce gender gaps, widen access to education and skills across all ages, strengthen women's empowerment by increasing their participation in labor markets and society, fostering equal conditions. Quality education and training system promote access to better jobs, salaries, and quality of life. We must prioritize skills development among vulnerable and underrepresented groups, which are at a higher risk of marginalization and at a risk of exclusion. We commit to addressing disparities and inequalities through policies that ensure inclusive opportunities for all and by redistributing opportunities within the countries and decreasing disparities between regions. This means tackling the health and the economic crisis in a short run, but also looking beyond and shaping a sustainable, just, inclusive and resilient recovery, hoping to build a more inclusive global society. It would be a good start enhance the digital literacy and also digital skills, both in education and work environments, such as programming, big data analysis, coding, and robotics, as age appropriate. Considering goal number 480 of 2030 agenda, which focuses on the quality of education and the quality of jobs, employability must be improved, combined with active labor market policies and public and private employment services. We need to foster STEAM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and art and mathematics skills, to emphasize the integration of fields of knowledge with creativity. This is a solution to train students and to form a teaching staff in order to improve their competences and skills through professional development opportunities. So the very most important thing is that creating synergies within and across government system with appropriate regulatory frameworks, including collaboration of education and labor ministries across different levels of government. As we all know, on the 20th of July 2021 at Venice, there was a G20 reunion where 130 states concluded an agreement to set a minimum tax rate for corporate income of 15% on multinationals with more than $890 million in revenue. This system shifts where some taxes are collected to feed the modern digital economy and will redirect some of the taxes that the company pays to the companies where they're headquartered in, instead of the companies where the companies sells its products and its services. As a matter of fact, the top 20 MNEs in Brazil accounted for approximately 62% of the total foreign assets of the top 20 Brazilian MNEs in 2016. But the situation in Brazil is far more complicated. Brazil is faced with a number of challenges in different domains related to the key drivers of the future of work. These challenges include accelerating the diffusion of new digital technologies in order to spur activity, innovation, and competitiveness. But also, we have to stay on track in combating deforestation and reducing emissions. And this is a topic that is very important for Brazil. As a result, technological change is evolving at an exponential instead of linear pace. The breadth and the depth of these changes are disrupted for enterprises and workers and raise the need for policies to support their wider dissemination, together with policies to support, to address the need for protection and regulation. The dissemination of automation is advancing gradually, particularly through investments by larger companies and in leading sectors. Okay. Anyway, there are some dates, but I don't want to annoy you with these dates. Anyway, 2 of 3 Brazilians use smartphones and have internet access. But large inequality exists, and digital access and proficiency vary greatly by region, social class, and age, signaling the need for more rapid and broad expansion of the overcome potential of digital exclusion. It was an honor. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good. Ready for Canada? Are you ready?
Yes, of course.
Is everybody ready? Okay.
When speaking about inclusivity, Canada sets an example for other countries. Diversity has played a long before the arrival of European immigrants, after the birth of Canada as a country, vast numbers of indigenous people practice distinct languages, cultures, and tradition in what is today known as Canada. This rich indigenous history, followed by waves of immigration from all parts of the globe, has made Canada one of the most diverse countries in the world. Everybody, in fact, I think, knows about the variety of languages spoken in Canada, such as French and English and indigenous languages. But let's prove this diversity with some numbers. In 2017, Canada revealed a major shift in its population, a snapshot of a country growing more and more diverse. Results told us that 21.9% Canadians were born in another country. That's almost 8 million people. The highest rate since 1931, and of those, 1 million identify as indigenous, and a growing rate which has been 4 times higher than the rest of the country. But what's behind the numbers? A mosaic of people claiming 250 different ethnic origins. The majority of those are from Asia, Philippines, India, or China, which is kind of those populations who help fueling population growth, and at the same time meeting the demand for specifically skilled workers. 7.7 million Canadians also identify as a visible minority, which is 7 times more than in 1981, when statistics started happening. And in Canada's largest city, Toronto, those minorities are now a majority, with 51.9%. Now that we have heard a lot of numbers, it should not come as a surprise that the term multiculturalism was coined in Canada and has been the nation's official policy since 1971. Its definition is the existence of difference and uneven power relations among populations in terms of racial, ethnic, religious, geographical distinctions, and other cultural markers that deviate from dominant, often racialized norms. Canada is now facing a great challenge, but it is in many, many ways a positive challenge, that of creating the best possible condition for ethnic and cultural diversity to become a great asset in the new economy. A high priority should be given to creating urban spaces and institutions conducive to development of strong civic networks and community initiatives. The federal government can play a role in this regard by funding local infrastructure such as sports and recreation facilities and community-based initiatives. Such attention should be integrated into long-term urban strategy developed locally in coordination with other levels of governments and community organizations. Similarly, sustainable urban planning must take into account access to affordable housing, which is really important. That's because, not by chance, the lack of immigrants that can afford affordable housing is cited often as a major cause of deprivation. Again, all levels of governments should play a role in this. starting from local communities to the Prime Minister itself to the G20. So, if inclusivity was not that big of a challenge for Canada, that country hasn't faced the same with gender equality. In 2016, a survey revealed that for every dollar a male worker earned, the female counterpart only received 69 cents. But now, Canada has a long-standing commitment to gender equality. Over the past 3 years, the federal government strengthened the gender governance framework throughout developing institutions, policies, tools, and accountability structures to promote gender equality and mainstreaming. In conclusion, where other countries focus on nationalism and depict immigration as a problem, Canada welcomes all cultures, ensuring that all citizens keep the same identities, have the same opportunities, take pride in their ancestry, and have a sense of belonging in the diverse and accepting space that Canada represents.
Okay, thank you. Good. Ready for the evaluations. Brazil on my left. Before we get confused. Canada on my right.
Brazil?
Yes? 17. Canada? 15. So Brazil gets to the final. Congratulations. Congratulations, both of you. Yes. Okay. Next one. Germany versus Italy. Germany on my left. Italy on my right.
For Germany, Marco Sanfilippo. For Italy, Matteo Cantatore.
Jury ready? Topic? Germany, Italy, the one that doesn't like veterans. Don't know why, we'll discuss that. Time ready? Okay, you can go.
Sustainability and climate action have become central themes for all of our countries. Climate change is an issue we all know about, and action, meaning sustainable investments, is needed to save billions of people and biodiversity from its effects, just like the extreme floods that occurred this July in Germany and Belgium, and like this summer's elongated and more intense fires across all of Europe. But what does sustainable investing mean? It means investing money with a view for the future of our planet, supporting a structural change in our economy that right now is still vastly based on fossil fuels. Sustainability means ensuring the protection of our environment and of our society, but it also means keeping the economy going and expanding. In fact, the only way to change from fossil fuels to sustainable energy is that it gets profitable, or it will have no investors and therefore will not happen. We need to clarify what is sustainable and what is not. For the German government, nuclear fission is not, because it is not considered to be profitable anymore, due to its major residual risks and because of the fact that it's not clean. So, German nuclear reactors will be closed by the end of 2022. On the other hand, the dream of nuclear fusion will be the best way to get sustainable energy. It is still under development, so it needs great fundings, but if it succeeds, it will provide almost limitless energy with just a few resources. More fundings should be also done in all the other renewables because they can get more efficient and cheaper. An important aspect of sustainable investment is transparency, as it is the key to success of sustainable finance. To improve transparency, states should provide information about companies' business models and their impacts on the environment. Linked to 2030 agenda, sustainable infrastructure could even inequalities. In fact, present-day infrastructure is not prepared to cover even the most basic needs of emerging countries, such as access to running water, sanitation, transport networks, whereas the sustainable alternatives could. To conclude, Germany's and China's proposals are to widen sustainability. So we should shift the civic service pension funds towards more sustainable indices. We should issue green bonds, just like Germany did, in order to increase price transparency and strengthen the development of green financial markets. Traffic light labels that provide clarity on how businesses manage their sustainability to investors should be applied to all the fields in the economy. And we should help emerging countries to build sustainable infrastructure while jointing efforts between countries in research for renewables, including nuclear fusion. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Ready for Italy?
Yeah.
Okay. Time.
Okay. To begin investing in sustainability, it's necessary to make major changes on the current state of public and private transport in order to decrease the circulation of polluting vehicles and help improving the air quality. Italy will undertake to settle an issue that has been going on for decades, the construction of the high-speed railway section Turin-Lyon, which won't only be an opportunity to improve trade with our French neighbors and friends, but will result in a significant shortening of the times needed to transport goods beyond the Alps, which will translate into many positive aspects for the environment and for our country. This new, fast, and easy way to move goods and people from one side of the Alps to the other will discourage road transport, the most used system nowadays, reducing the circulation of cars and trucks in those areas, with consequent benefits in terms of traffic and air quality. Not to mention the jobs that will be created in the construction site and in the maintenance. Furthermore, we'll also undertake to expand and improve other railway sections, not only on the border with France, but also with Austria in the direction of Germany. In fact, thanks to a common project in the European Union, we'll manage to obtain funds to finance an upgrade of the Munich-Innsbruck-Verona trade, in order to develop an efficient network that could facilitate the movement of goods beyond the Alps. In fact, ANSA revealed that only the 27% of total goods that pass through the Brenner every year are transported by rail, compared to the other 73% moved by trucks. Now, as a part of the conversion of non-renewable energy sources, the Italian government intends to make, by 2030, the qualitative leap that will project Italy at the top of global and the European rankings on energy sustainability. Therefore, we will apply to the European Commission for the introduction of customs duties on coal imports from extra-European countries, and will stimulate energy companies to switch to sustainable sources by introducing tax breaks calculated on the percentage of green energy produced. Moreover, as the representatives of the nations gathered here are well aware, solar energy is one of the alternative sources of energy preferred by people, not only because of the simplicity of installation of panels, but also because of the reliability and the continuity in the supply of energy. I therefore ask our French and German neighbors to increase tax breaks and financings for companies or families who choose to rely on this type of energy, in particular by installing solar panels assembled entirely in the EU, where Italy has a leading role in their production. To ensure the operation of the project, we will work to ask the European Commission for a reduction on customs duties on lithium, which abounds in the Chinese mines, with which our companies will assemble the batteries to contain the energy produced. To strengthen the collaborative spirit between our countries, Italy will finance a pool of experts and engineers summoned among our nations, as a part of modernization project of the main Italian farms that haven't kept up with the times. Their purpose will be to examine the plans and, having gathered the necessary information, assist the management team in the revision and or creation of new regulations to protect the rights of workers, animals, and reduce waste and emissions. Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you. Okay. I just remind you that Germany is on my left and Italy on my right. Ready or not? Let's evaluate Germany. Not ready yet? Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm pressing you because we are on the web. Well, for me, could stay here longer. But time on the web is demanding. Germany, this way. 17. Italy, this way. 16. Okay, thank you very much. Both of you, Germany passes. Thank you very much, both of you. Okay, next one is Japan versus Mexico. Japan will be on my left and Mexico on my right. Will you please give us the names of the girls?
For Japan, Serena Mennella, and for Mexico, Elena Hoy Ortiz. Schools, Serena Mennella is from the Nautico of Procida, and Elena Hoy-Hortitz from the Einaudi of Rome.
Good afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about global.
Wait.
Sorry.
Slow down a minute.
Okay.
Ready. You can
Okay.
go now.
Today I'm going to talk about global and regional value chains. We often wonder how globalization is going to affect the worldwide economy in the long run. And through globalization, many goods that were produced entirely in just one country are now broken down into a multi-country process. Against this backdrop, value chains have emerged as a new sample for the organization of production globally. Global value chains refer to international product distribution. It is a system where production is divided into projects and tasks carried out in different geographical areas. Then, each country specializes in well-defined stages such as design, manufacturing, marketing, sharing, and the delivery of the product. Production can also be narrowed to more intra-regional ties, gathering Europe, Asia, and the Americas. Still, there's a growing debate about whether value chains are more global or territorial. But how are value chains going to change the worldwide economy? What consequences would they bring forward? There's still no specific answer to these questions. What is certain is that value chains are a source of economic growth and employment opportunities, both regionally and globally. On the other hand, these systems require meticulous precision to make all the processes work. And even one tiny mistake might be negatively impactful. In recent years, most East Asian countries have achieved rapid economic expansion while becoming interconnected through regional value chains. However, Japan is an exception in this trend. According to statistics, the country has lost its central role in the network as an input provider. Also, Japan actively engages with the GVCs providing chemicals, metals, electrical equipment, and transport equipment. Other industries such as food products are barely involved. But why has Japan lost its centrality in the global and regional value chains? Well, there are many reasons for that. In 2011, natural disasters that occurred in Japan drastically impacted Japanese industries, especially automobile enterprises. It took a long to recovery until recent times when the pandemic began spreading globally. COVID-19 has exposed the vulnerability of global value chains due to the negative impact of the pandemic on multinational corporations. When China and Japan went into lockdown, factories were also shut down. And because of COVID restrictions, workers had to stay home, leading to a significant reduction in automobile manufacturing and disrupted global trade. But what was Japan's solution to the economic downturn? For sure, an economic plan had to be introduced. Japanese automobile assemblers decided to procure parts from suppliers in Japan and other parts of the world using existing GVCs. It only proves how influential international cooperation can be, let alone in rough moments. But what if the virus emergency endures? How is Japan planning to handle economic affairs? Even if supply chains made a quick recovery, Japan is growing interested in diversifying GVCs among its companies. Furthermore, Japan relies on China, as Chinese companies provide a wide range of goods, including electronics, medical equipment, and health products. But the trade and technological war between USA and China has fostered the idea of GVC diversification. But why so? Following this plan, Japan could be less dependent on external production in critical sectors. In other words, diversification will help reduce the strategic influence of China. But these changes are costly, so Japan has taken into account other projects. The country proposed a subsidy program to support Japanese companies in their efforts to diversify GVCs. The first point is to promote domestic investment. Instead, the second step would be involving a new alliance known as TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. With 11 signatory countries, the association aims to gain independence from the Chinese market. With the United States withdrawing from the agreement, it was widely believed that the partnership was finished. But Japan's leadership played an important role in promoting the TPP, even though most developing countries had lost faith in its effectiveness. One issue to be addressed through TPP was improving cross-border manufacturing networks and custom procedures through cooperation. But how is TPP going to make trading processes more equal? Counterparts have assured they will eliminate nearly 100% of taxes on manufactured goods, a sector in which Japan exceeds, and improve e-commerce, an area unregulated by the World Trade Organization. Finally, TPP-11 established high-level rules controlling trade online. Yet, the two main concerns are allowing Asian-Pacific countries to join the agreement and helping small business take advantage of regional trade. Future matters deal with the expansion of member countries and the return of the United States. The value of the partnership, though, will be tested by whether it can involve China into the framework. However, China needs the approval of 11 signatory countries to join the pact. The entry of the United States and China are both challenging issues for the moment. It would be profitable for Japan to be strategic in trade diplomacy to bring these two major countries within the rules of TPP-11. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
6 minutes and 01.
Oh, okay. Right. Ready for next? That will be Mexico. Are we ready with time?
Yes.
All right. Shall we start? Yes? Mexico.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here again to introduce my observation about the new global and regional value chains. Today, mass production processes across the world are vertically fragmented as a result of the increased differentiation of tasks and functions, and they're searching from different geographical locations. The emergence and intensification of international value chains and imply cross-border production sharing between countries has dramatically altered the international trading system. Our country is becoming an active participant in global value chains, and Mexico's participation in global value chains is also higher than the Latin American average, but lags behind that of Europe and Asia. Mexico has become one of the emerging locations for the supply of offshore services and has been successful in capturing opportunities from its proximity to the US demand pool. If on one hand manufacturing plays an important role in Mexico's trade, on the other one, its contribution to value-added growth is not as high as it was in previous decades. By contrast, most of the growth value added over past year is attributable to service activities such as wholesale and retail trade, travel and transport, as well as financial intermediation and business services. So what can we do to increase our participation in global value chains of services? Our country has an immense potential. For example, we can reduce the strong dependence on manufacturing and on macroeconomic instability. In fact, activity is normally more stable in the services sector than in manufacturing, particularly in services that are not directly linked to manufacturing, such as information technology and communication, passenger transport, and retail banking. In conclusion, the next steps that our country wants to do are to identify the establishment involved in goods for processing, to make establishment that assign partial or whole production of goods and services to exports, to determine the ownership focus based on results obtained on stage 1 and 2, and finally to decide establishment site identified in the previous stage by economic activity. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. And now we'll be waiting. Tell us when you're ready. Mexico. 16. Okay, so congratulations, both of
Thank you.
Japan passes. Okay, ready for next? That will be South Korea versus Russia. South Korea on my left, Russia on my right.
For South Korea, we have Tommaso Salerno, Istituto Calete di Roma, and for Russia, Alessandro Leonori from Istituto Leopardi di Macerata.
Okay. When everybody is ready, including time is ready, jury ready, delegates, off you go.
Dear Excellencies, welcome again. 20 years. That's how much the life expectancy in the Republic of Korea has increased during the last decades. Maternal mortality during labor, child and infant mortality all drastically dropped down in the last decades. And these are just a few accomplishments that we reached in the last decades. We were able to achieve these results because of our health system. We reached the universal health coverage in 1989, and now our national health insurance covers up to the 97% of our population. But please don't worry about the other 3%. They are covered by another kind of insurance. I'm honored to say that we are very proud of ourselves and these results. But every good story comes with a downside. In fact, we are now facing new health-related problems, mainly caused by air pollution. And I want to be clear with you. We cannot solve this problem alone. So I thought, and we as the Republic of Korea thought, that we need your help and your cooperation. We need all together to cooperate to limit and overcome this problem on a global scale. So we came up with a possible solution, and I'm here to tell you this one. We think that we can overcome these problems by investing in international cooperation as the World Health Organization. Investing in this kind of organization helps us to improve everyone's condition, because together we can find new solutions that an individual could not. That's why we, as Koreans, invested in it, both with money and Korean experts and institutions. In fact, we moved in the last years from the 20th position to the 12th position in the main investors ranking, and we are proud of it, really proud of it. So we can now consider our cooperative relationship as strong and stable. And that's why we can now truly work together towards a same goal, towards a goal that could beneficiate all of us. And that's improving the global health system by cutting off the inequalities and developing a system based on trust and cooperation. I would ultimately take a second to honor Saudi Arabia and our alliance. I would honor their healthcare system because they are working in first line, as we are doing, to rid off inequalities. In fact, after a meeting with the Saudi Arabian ambassador, he told me that they recently issued an unit on health rights. So this shows us how much all of us that are different countries are working towards the same goal. We should now put all of our forces together to work toward that goal. So as the alliance made of Saudi Arabia and the Republic of Korea are working towards the 10th goal of the 2030 agenda, reducing inequalities. I think that if we are doing this, us and the Saudi Arabia, we can all do that as the G20. So please, as I said before, work together because we can do that. We can achieve this goal. We can reduce inequalities, and we can do much more than this. Thank you.
Perfect. Congratulations. I have to say that. Congratulations, not for the whole thing, but for the mentioning of the alliance. And for mentioning very clearly that it was your activity was the resource of cooperation. Thank you so much. It's really getting the right point of view in the activity and the simulation we're having. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have to say. No problem with you. We'll be listening to you, and therefore, Russia, on my side, on my right. You can take off your mask.
Can I start?
If time is ready, you can start.
Just like before, I'd like to start by defining the concept of right to health. Right to health is nothing other than the right to a simple, peaceful life free from the danger of epidemics and generally violent or painful death. Generally, right to health is nothing more than the outgrowth of the most sacred of all human rights, that is, the right to life. This explains why it causes such an outrage, why generally the world has seen such a massive change just for a simple epidemic, that is through the COVID-19 epidemic and its subsequent state of exception that was triggered all over the world, in all countries all over the world. And this, once again, shows us how much important the right to health really is. But even so, and for it's this important, over 40% of people live in dangerous situations where they can hardly have the chance to save themselves from dangerous illnesses. And over 1.6 billion people don't have any access to decent healthcare, especially and not even healthcare paid for by the state. This explains the real tragedy that happens on our worldwide case. And the UN has been trying to bridge over this problem many times by now with many different plans. The Sustainable Development Plan, for example, dedicates its entire third chapter to linking up the development of an healthcare system and the development of the state itself. And so does Chapter 6 of the Promoting Nature and Health plan, which once again connects a simple life built in harmony with nature and free from illnesses with a more developed country. As a representative of the Federation of Russia, a country which technically is still a developing country, we have massive problems with healthcare and health system, even if historically we have inherited a very developed healthcare system by the Soviet Union. Soviet Union, while a very corrupt state, generally tried to all it could to develop an advanced and extensive welfare system through the theories of Soviet healthcare leader Semashko. After the proclamation of the Republic of Russia, most of our reforms to the system were to keep was basically modernizing its centralized plans. And since 1993, we also have a national health insurance, which whose role is basically to unite the private, or to coordinate the private and public sector of healthcare. The Constitution of the Republic of Russia defends healthcare in two different parts, Article 7 and Article 41. Article 7 guarantees that the Russian Federation is a social state based on helping its citizens, while the Article 41 basically enshrines it into the legal system itself. And while most healthcare is organized through the state federal laws, some of it is organized through local or regional laws of the different autonomous republics and oblasts. Even like this, as I said before, Russia's healthcare system is decaying, since it's a relic of a bygone age, and it's going through since 2008 various reforms. First, through the National Priority Project on Health, and since 2012 to 2020 and beyond, with the Federal Target Program for Development of the Pharmaceutical and Medical Industry. Russia also, talking about health, has massive problems with its massive smoking problems and alcohol problems, which endanger its population. So recently a proposal for a law to ban smoking in public areas has been proposed and has been through talks in parliament. Historically, countries' developments were linked to the development of their healthcare system. Russia itself saw this through during, for example, the 1900s, when the pest, when Black Death came over to Europe and massacred many Russian principalities, and this basically pushes Russia forward, develop its own healthcare system with collaboration, of course, of the world, but generally in an autonomous way. An example of this can be seen, for example, for the development of their autonomous development of their COVID vaccine, the Sputnik, which Russia offers at less developed countries at more economical prices in order to help the community worldwide go through this epidemic. And yes, Russia, through this way, shows it's making bold steps to taking its own place in the universe and on a planet.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Good. Are you ready already? Okay, fine. Korea, 18. And Russia? 15. Okay, Korea passes. Congratulations, both of you. Thanks a lot. Well done. Okay. Final one. We have Turkey versus United Kingdom. Turkey on my left.
Turkey, we have Sofia.
Wait, otherwise they don't get the names and everything. Turkey on my left. Tell the school and name.
Yeah, it's Sofia Onofri, Liceo Pierpaolo.
Okay. And
for
then
the UK, Elisa Peretti, King General.
all right. Jury ready? Jury ready? Time ready? Off you go. Please start.
Thanks. Good evening to all of you. Today, I want to speak about the sustainability of healthcare systems. This is an issue that affects everyone. But are we sure that all the population can afford healthcare? Health systems are essential to ensure the well-being of citizens and can potentially improve labor market participation and productivity. Collective health is important in the face of challenges ranging from economic crisis to the impact of socio-demographic changes and the implication of new technology for the sustainability of health systems. But we all know that the costs of the healthcare are very, very high. As it is a topic that includes all countries, to help them, the World Bank Group is providing support at several levels. This includes advising on reforms, regulation, and institutions that govern healthcare and stimulation private investment in partnership with other multilateral development banks. But is that enough? Health expenditure is a project to continue to increase, mainly due to the socio-demographic change, the aging population, and the subsequent increase in chronic disease and long-term care needs, as well as the impact of new technologies. To resolve these problems, the Turkish health system and healthcare delivery have been improved over the last decade. The government has decided to increase health coverage for the poorest sections of the population, with an increase in the number of subjects covered by the insurance scheme, especially for more complex interventions that more frequently caused catastrophic expenses. 10 years ago, initiated a series of policies to achieve universal health coverage through an initiative called the Health Transformation Programs, based on the principle that health is a fundamental right. Furthermore, Turkey provided both better financial protection for the poor against high health expenditure and equity in access to health care across the population. However, Turkey still faces now challenges to catch other development countries to have better health and further improve financial sustainability. But now, I want to talk about a topic that is very close to my heart. Since the beginning of the civil war in Syria, millions of refugees have moved into Turkey. Most of these refugees, instead of heading to Europe, stop in Turkey. According to official sources, there are about 2 million, but unofficial sources speak of almost 5 million. I wondered how the country was acting to face this emergency, and the answer was that humanity is susceptible. People survive and find balance on their own. But sorry, this isn't the best answer to my questions. In my opinion, to improve the situation of this emergency, and not only, the proposal could be increase in university place for health professionals, introduce and extended public hospitals, salary increase, and performance-related incentives. Now, I want to finish with a questions. We choose to shut them out or help them out. Thanks for the attention.
Thank you. Okay, now for the UK. Wait, we need to check on. Jury ready? Time ready? Okay, you can start.
Good evening. I'm very honored to be here and talk about the healthcare system of the UK and its sustainability. That is one of the main points of the agenda of 2030. Even the NHS, that is the National Healthcare System of UK, is already a world leader in sustainability as the biggest employer in the country and comprising nearly a tenth of the UK economy. It's both part of the problem and part of the solution. In fact, 25% of carbon dioxide emissions of the UK is due to NHS that consumes 38.8 million cubic meters of water and produces about 26.3 million cubic meters of sewage. That is enough to fill the Wembley Stadium every 16 days. So the UK is coming under increasing pressure to reduce environment impact on the world. And so the government has to develop a guide to reduce the impact of the environment and to let the NHS become greener and has less impact on public health and the environment, save money and reach net carbon zero. And as Simon Stephen, that is NHS Chief Executive, said, UK is mobilizing 1.3 million staff to take action for a greener NHS, and it's why UK have worked with the world's leading experts to help set a practical, evidence-based and ambitious route map. But to reach net carbon zero, UK has to do some investments, mainly in travel and transports. For example, some ideas could be the electrification of NHS transport fleet, or maybe developing other ways of transport like cycling, walking, and shifting models. In the medicine area, low carbon inhalers and anesthetic gases should be developed, and also some investments in research, innovation, and offsettings should be done by the UK. But the government has had to spend many billions of pounds to fight coronavirus and protect the economy. The lockdown has reduced the amount of money the government raises in taxes, and for example, this meant that UK had to borrow huge sums of money. The first year of pandemic, it borrowed 299 billions. That is the highest figure since the records began in 1946. And for the current year, UK expected to borrow less, but the figure could still be more than 200 billions. So we don't have to be discouraged by this because a lot of progresses can be done, as I said before. And I hope I've been clear and pragmatic, showing my opinions about how the NHS could be more sustainable. And thank you for having listened.
Thank you.
Sono autoapplaudita.
Okay. So before we finish, we'll wait for this evaluation. Oh, okay, perfect. Turkey, my left. I don't see yours. 16. UK. 18. Correct? Congratulations to UK. You passed it. Okay, good. So that will be the end of this activity for today. We'll be waiting for the final for tomorrow. But before we go away and you have some rest and dinner, whatever, you deserve it like we do, okay? And I would like to give you let's say, some kind of hints. From the formal point of view, that will be my business. From the concept point of view will be the ambassador's interest. And I will start from telling you that most of your speeches, most of your performances were lacking two elements: the opening addressing. So you'll be always addressing the audience, and the audience will be addressed by inviting people to listen, obviously, but mainly you'll be speaking to Mr. or Madam President, the jury, and the audience, and fellow delegates. So that will be always part of your entrance speech, your opening form. Also, as you might have noticed, very often you need to finish, you want to finish and stop without even having said the closing formula. So you need a closing formula. If you can imagine that people are listening to you very carefully, they need to understand that you are approaching the end, not only saying in conclusion or at the end. You need to find a closing formula that will help people understand that you are getting to the end of it. A brisk, terrible interruption is not very nice. So you need to attract the attention of the audience and finally get the audience to finishing. Okay? Is that clear? That is the formal aspect. And I expect that during the night you will prepare opening and closing formula to your speeches for tomorrow. I'm sorry for your beers, but I'm very sorry for your relax, but you need to do that because you don't get to the final without doing something really special. From the formal point of view, there is one thing that Ambassador Verga was telling me that I hope you want to repeat, otherwise I'll summarize it for you. That was mainly connected to, you very often speak, I'm here, I'm very glad to be here today, I want to tell you this is my point of view. You are not representing your country, your government, your people. So when you are dealing with other kind of connections, you are not representing you personally. So you have to expose yourself as a representative of your country, your government, and particularly your people. So you can always say my country, but it's better to say our country, our government, and especially please avoid the I. I is not allowed, I guess. Is that what you wanted to say, Ambassador? And you want to add anything else? Okay, that's good. And that is a completely different thing, but very useful. Bye-bye, see you tomorrow. Okay, what time have you got on your timetable? What time have you got for tomorrow? 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock, so please check, because in here we have 10:30.